Right. Oh no! You can tell I'm late tonight. All right, I'm going to take my jacket off. Got my jackets on. It's absolutely bucketing it down out here.
This
I'm
summer,
trying to
make more of outdoor.
So, what's going on there? Got an outfit running as well.
It's all gone horribly wrong already.
All gone horribly wrong. No intro, no outro tonight.
The train's off the tracks. We're getting ready to go off the cliff.
Oh dear, no intro tonight. Just waiting straight in live. Anyway, good evening. Welcome to Airfix and Chill. After dark. Anyway, after dark. I hope everybody's well. I'm surprised there was no intro. Normally I set that up. I'm normally pretty good. But anyway, so tonight, folks, we've got a bit of an interest. I thought we'd go hard tonight. Let's go hard. We've had a bank holiday Monday. Let's have a really good Monday talking about a bit of a controversy, really. But anyway, we've got Luke here tonight. We've got Jim. We've got John Alec. We've got Simon, Brett, Barry, Zinni, and John. And also in the background is Mike, Bearded Veteran, who's going to be moderating and putting up the comments, etc., etc.
He's going to be busy tonight.
He's going to be very busy tonight.
I think he will.
Yeah. It is quite provocative thumbnail, but I'm using sex in here. But really, let's. I'll tell you a little story that happened this weekend, and there is no judgment from me. I've heard the story secondhand from the person it affected, and I've not heard the other party's side of the story. Okay, but one of our esteemed scale modelers does a lot of figure painting, and his figure was of a mermaid, and he had it out on show at this local model show. And during the day, somebody probably complained or made a comment, and this model show asked my friend to take the model off the stand. It was topless. It's a mermaid, obviously, which I never knew why mermaids were, erotic, but sailors seem to love them because you only see the top half. I don't know what you do in the bottom half. I don't know. You know what I mean? Because it's a tail, isn't it? Unless you go, the other way.
Top good enough. You never get to the bottom.
Yeah. So it was topless. Now, I think faces are clearly hard to do, but I also think if you can get the breasts right, that's another subject matter all told, isn't it? Trying to get that right, and I think he got it pretty spot on. But anyway, some people got offended, and they respectfully asked him to take it down, and respectfully he took it down. So that's one side, sex. Now the other side to this hobby is death, and I did a video this week, and you can go and watch it. Now I tried something a bit different. I wrote an article about the Soviet BRDM-2, which is a reconnaissance vehicle, fabulous looking thing, ugly as a pug. It's one of them. And I did a two-parter in the video. So I talked about its history, its development, where, what it did, bit of humor in it, obviously. And then I did the unboxing of this kit. Because it's on the bench now, and it's actually going together extremely well. Really good kit. But the caveat is that it's a Dragon Rebox by Zvezda. So I was hitting two things with two birds with one stone on this one. One, it's a Soviet vehicle, though it's been used by everyone on the eastern, the east, what do they call it? The Eastern
Warsaw Pact.
Warsaw Pact, so very communist. So Ukrainians have had it. Polish redesigned theirs, so at least they would save their soldiers coming out the side. You have to get out the front, you get out the side of them. But also it's Zvezda. Now, I put a caveat in when I did it was I bought this model. To my knowledge, Zvezda haven't reboxed this since 2021. So when this kit came into the country, remember I bought it, I think it was second hand. This Eastern Bloc, second hand. I believe that it was already the money's already gone to Russia anyway, or and I'm actually helping out a model shop who's probably had this on his shelf for years or whatever, blah blah blah. So anyway, that's why I came here. But funnily enough, that video has been one of my poorest videos I've ever done. It's only done about 1,000 views, and if my videos get between 4 and 10,000 views, it's easy like that. But it's done really, really badly. And so, is it the controversy of it being a Russian vehicle and the people aren't really interested in it, or people, or YouTube haven't pushed it out because it's a delicate subject? So there's two-pronged attack there, sex and death. So I thought, let's talk about these things. And should it really affect modeling in the way it does at the moment? Should we get emotionally attached to these things? Should we be offended when somebody does a model of a woman with showing a little bit of knicker, showing a bit of cleavage? Or or should we be doing a model or a diorama of a dead soldier burnt out next to a burnt out tank? So I thought, let's have a bit of fun tonight with this. Let's have a good debate. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I'll keep an eye on the chat. Mike's in there as well. And so the question is, should we be producing models that show off controversy? And I'll start this off with Tilly. You can go first tonight. You must have some thoughts on this. And you're quite elegant in what you say, so crack on.
I got to talk in my proper voice then. No, I think that I think the first thing to say about this, the whole figure painting thing, and here it is. Does anybody recognise this?
I do.
It's called the Aphrodite of Knidos, and it's a sculpture from about the 4th century BC. So it's around 2,500 years old, something like that. This was the first sculpture of a nude woman ever produced or ever known to have been produced in the Greek late period. And this is not viewed as offensive material. But it's called a Venus pudica, which is a modest Venus, and it's called modest Venus because she covers her I don't what's the technical term, snatch, I think, with her hand, of course. But there you go. I thought I'd get a bit of a laugh.
Fish market.
But,
ladies and gentlemen, we have found the level. We have found the level.
Immediately. But we can find this sort of stuff on the internet very easily. What's different between this and the intro picture for the Most Excellent Mosses video? What's the difference? There's very, very little, in my view. In fact, if anything, Mos's pictures, picture with the two figures, is somewhat more modest than than this is. But this is viewed as art, and some people view Mos's picture as not being art. Well, anything is art if it's entirely useless, said Oscar Wilde at one stage. And I think there's rather too much of people around being offended on behalf of other people. I think offence is taken, not given. And
true.
When I look upon this image, and I've seen the likeness at the Vatican Museum, it's designed to be admired from all sides, just like a diorama or a vignette, it's a wonderful piece. It's a piece of classic art and sculpture, Therefore, I say, if you want to paint figures, resin figures of women, absolutely, go for your life. That's absolutely fine by me. I don't see
Yeah.
any problem with that kind of thing. So, you know, the reality is that in 2,000 years' time, maybe these resin figures will be looked upon as art as well.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? Exactly.
I'm afraid
Jim,
that-
oh, sorry, you finished? Go, carry on. I thought you finished.
I'm
Go
done,
on.
mate. I'm done. That's all I had to add on the matter.
Jim, as an ex-judge, you must have come across dioramas, erotic, and also the pain of war dioramas, I'll call them, in judging at model shows. What's your take on these sort of things? Is it more artistic impression, or do you feel that you can see the offensiveness of them to certain people?
Well, I did. To be fair, you don't see a lot of it over here. There are the occasional pieces that push up against that line. Personally, I don't care. Do what you want to do. It's really, if not almost impossible to offend me, I don't take offense because I really just don't care what anybody's opinion of me or what I do is, you know, and vice versa. If you want to go do that, then go do that. But I think the problem is, at least as far as shows are considered, and I'll use all shows, doesn't matter what it is, they operate in a different environment and arena where they have to, because there's money involved, they have to have some rules, they have to have some kind of line there. And I know with IPMS USA, there used to be, I think it was the Rule 5 was the rule that if any part of a human form was naked or whatever, then we were supposed to have a special section at every national where it was behind a curtain. And you know, some people loved that, some people hated it, you know, both sides of the story. But that's where they would go. That's kind of like been forgotten about. It's not done anymore. But then there occasionally that piece will come in, you know. We'll have the curtain. We'll have 3,000 models in the room. There'll be 5 behind the curtain.
Yeah.
4 years later, there's no curtain. The chapter that's hosting the national has not read the rule. They don't know about it. They haven't provided a space for it. And there's one piece out of 3,000 models that's a figure, and there's a boob hanging out or something. And you know, somebody comes walking in off the street with their kid. Hey, look, models. Oh my God, there's a bare breast. And they freak out and they make a big deal about it. And then it becomes a big deal again. And then it just ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, why? You know, now to the other end of that argument, there was a modeler, and I'm pretty sure who this was. I'm not going to name a name. They molded and painted in extreme detail a pile of dog where your model of your fly would come in handy, Moz.
Yeah.
They made that and put it in the national, and the national rules had to be, you know, well, we can't have, they actually had to write this out. We can't have any models of human excrement or animal excrement. And it's just like, it just drives me nuts. You know, I'm not one big for rules and all this kind of stuff. It's just like common sense. But hey, we're humans. We lack common sense. But what is common sense? To that modeler, that pile of whatever feces was perfectly fine. To most, it's not. Where are you drawing lines? Should we draw lines? You know, if you don't draw lines, you got anything and everything goes. Does everybody want to see? You're not going to make everybody happy all the time at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, you know, who knows?
Yeah, it's you know, I was only thinking about this the other, you know, today, because when I heard the story behind it, I was like, everything must be in context, because I saw, you know, I must have been about 10 years old, 11 years old. I think I was in secondary school, and you're given in biology that textbook. And the first thing I saw in that textbook, that somebody had graffitied over the naked woman on page whatever 105, you know, you know what I mean. And so at that age, you know, as a picture. And to be fair, from where I'm from, my mum used to get the Sun newspaper, so page 3 was always on show. Do you know what I mean? Now that's all gone, and I understand there are reasons for that. But seeing a naked woman at any age, I just think it has to be in context, and it's not like it wasn't like the woman, it was a real thing. It was an artistic impression of a mermaid done very, very well. But somebody got offended at it, and I'd like to know the reasoning behind that person being offended. Did she have a child with her? Then
it's just different takes. My mother-in-law thinks Victoria's Secret's pornography. Okay, so there you go. I mean, everybody has their own definitions for this stuff.
Maybe it was a woman who was jealous. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
The only thing I can think of here actually immediately is we better hope actually against hope that any alien species out there aren't quite as delicately fashioned as some people who live here. Otherwise, they're about to be really bloody offended by the picture of the naked male and female human form on the Voyager probes, and on the Pioneer ones as well.
No, because all aliens you see depicted are always naked.
Yeah.
Just about.
Well, this is it. It's like I think as in our community, you have to go out there and buy a figure and be particular. I'm going to do a real life sculpture, paint it up as a woman. In the wargaming and the fantasy, Final Fantasy sort of era, or modeling, I should say. That's what I mean. Yeah. The women are very erotic. There are nips and slips, if you know what I mean, on show. It's so if you're in that wargaming, you got the women who are fighters and they're wearing corsets, pushing up the bust. So I see that. Alex Swift just made a comment, and I'm going to say, hey gang, is it because many of us English are prudes? I don't think it's that. I don't think English people are really. We're not Victorian. Victorian times, we would have been prude, but I think as a country we've pushed more forwards into that. To not being prude. Benny Hill. I know people don't like Benny Hill, but back in the 70s and the 80s, Benny Hill wasn't there for prudish, was it? It was there to put it out there, women in corsets and nylon stockings and stuff running around after a fat bloke, it's
the term was tittillating, wasn't it?
Titillating, yeah.
It didn't really mean sexual, it just meant yeah.
And even his song, Milkman, was it Ernie?
Ernie Milkman in the West.
Yeah, one of them. Somebody said, go in the comments, I like to call the professional attendees offending on behalf of people who literally don't give a toss. And Lockstein said there was that model of a German railway wagon with a figure carting clothes away that was a borderline subject. So, and Mark's agreeing with me there. I don't think the English are prudes. Carry On films are part of my upbringing. I think that's it.
There is something to think about as well, Moss, is that for the last 50 or 60 years, we've had erotica with mainstream model kits and nobody's batted an eyelid. Every time a US bomber had what was called nose art, most of that was pretty erotic. Nobody cared. They just slapped it on. Even 7-year-old kids, they were slapping them on their kids.
Yeah, exactly. Luke, what's your take on all this? You must have an opinion. Let's just open that page a minute.
Someone being asked to remove a model of a mermaid, which is a fictitious being, from a display, is ridiculous.
Mhm.
That's my first thought. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to separate the hobby from the rest of the world, because the people that do the hobby live in the bigger world. Now, currently, and over the last 10 to 15 years, we hear the term woke, we hear the term DEI, we hear all these terms. The world has lost its way.
Yeah.
Offense is personal.
Yeah.
So what would offend me may not offend you, Moz. It may not offend Jim. It may not offend Brett, and vice versa, because everyone has a lived experience of life. So for someone to complain that they're offended, well, don't look at it then.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. If there are children there, then the argument will always be, oh, what about the kids? Yeah, what about them? So what, are you going to avoid every town centre? Are you going to avoid every city centre where there's generally some sort of sculpture or statue that will have nipples on show, will have a penis on show? Well, in a lot of places, it's down to you as the parent or the legal guardian of that young person to educate them.
Yeah.
Not cancelling it, because where do you draw the line? Is a military subject offensive? Because most things that we build, if you're a military modeler, will be a weapon of war. It is designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to kill human beings.
Yeah.
So is a tank offensive?
Yeah.
So where do you draw the line? And this is the problem, that at the moment in the wider world, the line is so blurred, and everyone gets offended about everything, blah, blah, blah. Crimea River, don't give a shit. Offense is personal. And as soon as I said, offense is taken, it's very rarely given.
Yeah.
And why is, so I don't know how long that particular modeler spent painting and constructing the mermaid. It wasn't done in 20 minutes, was it?
Yeah. No.
So what he or she have done, I don't know who it is they've put their heart and soul into a subject. They've done a very good job by all accounts, and they've taken it to a model show, which you could argue is no different to some sort of art exhibition. I don't necessarily agree with that, but you could argue that. And they've displayed their hard work. Just because, and I'll use the term and people will lose their minds, just because some snowflake has complained and said, oh, I think that's offensive because there's boobs on it. Oh, honestly, leave them. If you're that offended, leave.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. The world's gone mad. You can't say anything. Why is that person's feelings of offense more important than the person who's spent 100+ hours putting their hard work and in their own time have turned up to display their hard work for the benefit of everyone? If you don't like it or you find it offensive, don't look at it. It's so simple. Why is that? But we live in a world now where if you criticize certain subjects or you're not offended by certain things, then you're a fascist. You're any issue you can think of, any phobia you can think of, you will be it because you're not offended. Well, I'm not offended because I'm not mentally ill.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Well, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I get that. I think, as I said, it's a context of the thing, you know. I was just thinking, you know, if somebody did a diorama of, let's say they do a diorama of the Holocaust, and somebody gets offended at that, then why is it that I thought one of the most powerful films of the Holocaust that I've seen, bar Schindler's List, was The Boy in Striped Pajamas.
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
There's
Honestly.
a very famous, there is a well-known modeler who has done a diorama where it's nothing more than a wire mesh fence on groundwork with someone in a figure in striped uniform looking out. That's it. Now you can read into that what you want, but why is a diorama? Why should we say, well, you can't do a diorama of a train with someone carrying clothes to it, but you can build a tiger tank?
Right.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
So either you put an age restriction on a model show and say it's for over 18s only, or you grow up a little bit, and if you take young people there and you're responsible for why they're there, educate them.
Yeah. I think
Simple as that.
education is key.
Also
Very
is.
much so. But if you don't have these images around, how can you then educate?
Exactly that.
Here is the problem, and I think it's one of the fundamental arguments for freedom of speech, such as the kind that our friends over the Atlantic have, and we have a form of freedom of speech, but unfortunately, to an ever greater extent, it is becoming unlawful to say things that offend people. And in America, they can say an awful lot of things, and this is a good thing because, do you know what? It builds a more robust society because people have to grow up, as Mr. Rifle has said and has very succinctly pointed out. If you want your society to grow up, then you give them the freedom to say things.
The thing is, if we start cancelling things, and you can't say this, or you can't display the mermaid, or you can't do this, or you can't do that, well, we no longer live at that point in a democracy. If someone can't say or do, as long as it's not criminal and they're not hurting anyone, if someone can't say what they think because of fear of retribution, whether that be professionally, criminally, socially, whatever, if they can't say it, then that's a dictatorship right there.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Whether someone might say something and I disagree with what they've said, but I would stand by their side and defend their rights to say it.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is. That's free speech. And that's what millions and millions of people died for in the Second World War, to protect free speech and freedom. And sadly, it's been eroded. And the model show is just a
the layer of it.
Presentation of the why. Oh, well, I'm offended. So 98% of the people here aren't. So that's a huge problem.
The thing is, somebody, Katie Hopkins was actually the person that said this. She said you should never be frightened of saying something in case it gives offense to somebody, because the whole point of taking offense is so that you have a right to have a taken offense at something. So she says, unless you can offend people, you won't have freedom of speech, and you won't have a society which backs freedom of speech. And I think she had a point.
And I mean, this has been said in a number of legal cases, and one that springs me to mind is one where Judge Stephen Sedley, in his remarks, said the following: free speech includes not only the inoffensive, but the irritating, the contentious, the eccentric, the heretical, the unwelcome, and the provocative, provided that it does not promote violence. Freedom to speak only inoffensively is not worth having.
No.
It's not freedom of speech. Yeah, I mean,
we might draw that back to the modelling standpoint, and freedom only to model that which somebody finds inoffensive is not worth having. Again, so we're back to square one to some extent, I would suggest.
I mean, I've been present at Telford on different occasions. So there is a Russian wheeled vehicle SIG, an IPMS SIG.
Yeah.
Now, the year or the November following the invasion of Ukraine, the person that runs that SIG came in for so much grief at Telford because of the subject of their SIG. The following year, there is an IDF SIG, and the same thing happened. It's just people virtue signaling. That's all it is. That is all it is.
Yeah.
It baffles me. It absolutely baffles me. So, as a veteran of Telic and Operic, should I go to a model show and go, no, you have to take that Wimmick off the table because that's offensive, or you'll have to take that Afghanistan diorama off the table because that's offensive? No, if you don't want to look at it, don't look at it. It's really
Sorry.
Yeah. It's such a, it is an emotive thing, isn't it? You know, and we have to respect that. And as Alex was saying, that his youngest son is learning about the boy in the striped pajama at secondary school. You know, I came home drunk one night and ended up in floods of tears for that film. I don't normally cry. I think the last time I cried was when E.T. was found alive. But you know what I mean? And it's quite a powerful film. But you know what? I don't see people saying you can't have that. No. And then it's like I wanted to get to the point is that I had a lot of beef with AK Interactive years ago with their book. I don't know what it was called now. There was a name for it, wasn't it? What was the name of the book? And I remember Scalehanger 186 we had the issue wasn't the subject matter in the book. Because in the book they had a Holocaust, they had a gas chamber. That wasn't our beef. Our beef was their advertising schedule, where they were using real life footage of dead Holocaust victims. It wasn't, you know, we understand that, you have the right to create these sort of dioramas. And I was like, yeah, me personally, I don't think I would have done one, but I wouldn't be that good enough to do one. But there are those who could artistically represent or replicate something in scale of what was happening. It's their right to do that. Our beef was that their advertising, their adverts and their posters were leaning on it was undignified. That was the problem. And they never said sorry either. But then again, they removed the book and they removed that chamber from that book in the end. But there were people who were offended because of how they proactively tried to promote this book. But what was in the book for me was totally fine. That, you know, it was horrific. You had radioactive, fallout dioramas and everything, and it was close to the bone. But I think I always remember, like, I'm not being religious here, so don't get me wrong. I always remember saying, I remember being at school once, and I said to a teacher, why does God allow evil in the world? And he said, well, without evil, you wouldn't know what was good. And sometimes you need offense in the world to understand what is bad and what is right. Because how you do that is what matters. You know, and I think that's the way to look at it, really. But as I said, I don't see many dioramas with naked women on. I have seen. I went to one show when there was a corner where a bloke had them doing every kind of sexual act you could think of, and we all kind of laughed at it. You know, he put a sign up saying 18 only, adults only, and the guy who paints up these little figures, you know, rolling around in the hay, hiding behind a bush, painting bushes as well. His technique was amazing on those bushes. But yeah, but as I said, it did wonder why somebody
where you pull the line. There was a diorama or vignette or whatever you want to call it at Telford last year, and it was on a wooden stand, and it was a bra, a real life bra, and somebody created a water effect in the bra with a tall ship at whatever scale, and they called it Storming a D Cup.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
That was what's it called?
So
the
guy
should that be removed because it's showing a female underwear item?
Oh no.
No.
But that's it. Where do you draw the line? Because what's offensive to one may not be offensive to another. I don't think that's offensive.
Go on, Jib. Go, Jib. Jump up.
Yeah. So here's the thing: does the IPMS UK have written rules that deal with this issue?
They probably do.
Because I've got the IPMS USA rule up for this year right now, and I can read it to you. It's pretty succinct in what they allow. They draw their own lines as an organization. Okay, and at the end of the day, if this organization is gonna live in the real world, then they're gonna have to put down their rule, and whatever that rule is, everybody has to live by. If you don't like it, then you don't go, right?
Yeah.
So I'll just read it real quickly here. Inappropriate entries. The chief judge will exclude, remove from competition any entry considered by contest officials to be inappropriate or offensive to generally acknowledged standards of taste and acceptability. The following are prohibited in competition and may not be placed on display at any IPMS event. 1. No depiction of excretory functions depicted by human or being or animal. 2. No depictions of, big word here, sadomasochistic activity, equipment, settings, or situations. I guess you can't model whips. To any degree, regardless of whether they are figures in the model or regardless of whether they are any figures present in the model or clothed. 3. No depictions of explicit sexual conduct, bilateral or autoerotic, regardless of degree and regardless of the clothing status of the participants that involve the touching of the breast or genitalia or other erogenous zones of any depicted figure. 4. No depiction of any nude human male or female figures where the genitalia of the figure are exposed, where the clear intent of the same is to portray a sexual scene. And then that's the end of it. The following may be entered, and they give a list of what's allowed behind the screen. I won't read all that to you. So at the end of the day,
by the published rules, a mermaid is accepted.
Yeah, oh yeah, it would be. It would be accepted, but it would have to go behind the curtain because it does show the.
But it's not human.
Well, let's see here. Wait. I'll continue on. The following may be entered in the competition or put on display, but can be presented only behind opaque scenes or similar visual barriers. Another long paragraph. Okay, 1. Depictions of any nude human male or female figures subject to the provisions of J1 above. Models or dioramas or historic events. General dioramas of specific depictions of the result of activities of the communist Cambodian Pol Pot regime, the Soviet Gulag, or Nazi death camp, where the suffering of human beings or the result of a program of an organized massacre of a particular ethnic group is depicted, where the theme or content or subject matter of presentations is graphic and would violate any provisions cited above, then the presentation is prohibited in any setting. So you can, as a and this is where to Luke's point, they say human. They don't specifically say creature. You know, a mermaid's a creature that's half human.
Yeah.
I would that would probably in the real gray areas are going to default to the show organizers and IPMS USA head honchos who were there. They would probably say, yeah, it's a tweener. Let's play it safe. We'll put it behind the curtain. You know.
So when were those rules published in?
That's for this year.
This year.
That's this year.
If you remember, 2 or 3 years ago, in the diorama category at Telford, it won best in category, got gold or first, and it was a scrapyard diorama.
Yeah.
And on that diorama, there was a dog taking a piss up against the wheel.
Really?
Well, according to those rules, that should be disallowed.
Yeah,
because that's an animal defecating, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line?
According to the rule, you're right. It would have to be disqualified. But I bet you any amount of money that person did that just to see how far they could go, to see if anybody picked it up like a little Easter egg, and to thumb their nose at the organizers. Hey, I got one on you.
The dog's doing a natural thing.
Well, sex is a natural thing, you know. But here we are.
The problem I understand these are the rules for the competition, but this mermaid wasn't in a competition. It was
it says competition or display.
Yeah, or display.
Yeah.
Nothing is mentioned about display, and we do have a big display.
I thought you just read that out, Jim, and it said competition or display.
Let me see.
Yeah, because
I mean, it's
correct.
I
All are prohibited in any competition and may not be placed on display at any.
There you go.
Where you are.
So yeah, there you are.
There you are.
No fun.
No fun.
And I think if IPMS probably had their way, they probably wouldn't care all that much, and they probably feel like, hey, like we've been saying.
I understand from an organizational point of view.
Because they'll get food.
They have to have something written down, don't they? They have to have a policy or rule, or whatever, from an organizational point of view. They have to do that, because if they do not, then they leave themselves open to legal action from a snowflake that has become offended.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. So I get why IPMS as an organization would do that. Now, personally, I build a lot of military stuff. I build a lot of military vignettes, dioramas, whatever you want to call it. You will never, ever see any of my work that depicts active combat. Ever. That's a personal choice. All my dioramas and vignettes will show soldiers either walking from one place to another, soldiers at rest, leaning against the vehicle, you know, whatever it may be. They never show active combat, ever. But that's a personal choice. The same as everything should be a personal choice. You know, I don't see the difference. I really don't, between building a burnt out Tiger tank with some casualties or building a Tiger tank fresh from the factory. I don't see any difference in that at all.
No.
It's a weapon of war. Why do you think they built the Tiger in the first place? It wasn't to go around the schools and give everyone a hug, was it? You know, it's a weapon of war. It's built to inflict maximum damage on human beings. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
So any military subject, the majority of military subjects.
I bet the Tiger tank caused more stress than any mermaid ever has.
Principally to the drivers and the people within it, I would have to say, because many of them were found abandoned, weren't they?
Yeah.
Have you got any thoughts on this, Brett, as an American?
Well, yes. It's a subjective thing, like everybody said. What offends you won't offend me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And all the time I've been selling models and displaying models and stuff at the store, I only had one complaint. And Revell sells this line of model kits, tractor trailers for various rock bands, AC/DC, Kiss, Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
And I was selling them. And where I live is also a very small town. We have lots of tourists, like triple our population in tourists. So one day a guy came in and said, you shouldn't be selling that Motorhead kit because the singer of that band supports Nazism. The first thing I said was, can you name the singer of the band? And he said, well, no. I said, so how do you know? And I left it on the shelf. One of my employees came up and said, that pisses me off. So he picked up the model, went in line behind the guy when he was paying for something and started a conversation like, isn't this the coolest model you've ever seen? Isn't this great? I'm going to buy this. I'm surprised they had it. So people are offended by the stupidest things.
Mm-hmm.
Lemmy wasn't on that trailer. It just said Motorhead and had their mascot on it. He happened to see somewhere on a news show that Lemmy collected World War II paraphernalia.
Right.
And he made him a Nazi. Lemmy wasn't a Nazi. He was
No, of course he wasn't.
Including a great musician, but he wasn't a Nazi. So there's so many tight-ass people in this country right now.
Yeah.
that-
And everything depends on you say that he'd heard it or seen it somewhere at some point.
Right.
Well, my news feed on media, whether it's social media or email subscriptions or whatever, is going to look very different to Brett's. It's going to look very different to Barry's. It's going to look very different. Well, it's not that different to Zinzan's. But so depending on what media you consume will can shape people's view of the world. And so therefore, what offends the cardigan wearing vegan isn't going to offend me, and vice versa. It's just the way of the world.
Yeah.
Is that what vegans wear now, Luke?
Pardon?
Is that what vegans wear now?
What cardigans?
Cardigans.
Well, do you know what? I
have an issue.
We've had my beloved is a vegetarian. And of the worst kind. I'm joking, but anyway.
Of the worst kind.
We went to I think it was Sainsbury's or some supermarket, and they have a clothing range. It may have been Primark. I can't quite remember now. We walked in there, and they had all these handbags on a wall, and every single one of them had a sticker saying vegan friendly. So I said to her, look at this, you could buy this handbag, love, and when you finish with it, you can eat it because it's vegan friendly. Like that, you know, she kind of like smiled at that, like, but they're associating fake leather now. It's not called PVC or whatever, fake leather. They now say it's vegan friendly, not to cause offense, But as I said, there's so much in the world that that could cause offense. I would just, if there was somebody there at that model show who understood what was going on with this mermaid, if they could come on and just mention the comments, why it was brought up and they felt they had to be removed from this stand.
Hasn't Jim already done that? Because if that's an IPMS rule for 2026 and it's an IPMS show,
over here.
Oh, over there. Okay.
Yeah,
That
But
what I
it
read
really-
to you was just our national rule for this year.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Anybody else?
if there is a similar rule, then the organisers of the show have to adhere to that rule from an organisational point of view.
Yeah.
Do I think it's right? Absolutely not. Do I think it's right that you can't put the dreaded symbol on display on most social media platforms?
No.
When it's in the historical context? No, I don't agree with it at all. However, they're the rules of the game. So you have to adhere to them. If you don't want to adhere to them, don't.
It's a level playing field. Everybody has to abide by the same rules.
Yeah. It was Neil that had the issue, and he's come on, and fair play to him. He said, "I just find it interesting that one person is offended, and that trumps everyone else. And does one have a right not to be offended?" Now, okay, I'm offended. I am offended that money is spent, my money is spent on things I don't think the government should be spending on.
Careful, Mars.
But yeah,
Join the
I'm
club.
being careful here. I'm going to be careful here. But there's nothing I can do about it.
No.
It feels like that people get offended because there's an easy way of rectifying that offense. I bet the person who was offended that there was a mermaid on show will probably be offended that her child can't get into the school that he wants.
Yeah.
But because it's easier to take that mermaid off the stand, she was able to, or he, or I don't know if it was he or she, so don't get me wrong here. I should have said she. Yeah. That it was easy to be offended at the easier things than it is to be of the things that you can't change.
Was it Neil you said, Mars? Is that who
It was Celtic West's. Neil, could you send me a picture of your mermaid and I'll put it up on screen? I'm happy to take the hit from YouTube and take the video down after. Send me a picture. So I can put it up.
He's absolutely right in what he said.
Yeah.
Because why is one person's offence more important than another's?
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, but it is. In the world we live in, it is.
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, because offence is subjective, as talked about. But on certain topics now, if one person's offended by something I say or something Barry says or does, their offence is deemed more important than mine. And I won't go into specific things because it's not my channel. But that is a dangerous game to play.
Yeah.
Because what we're saying is, or what the powers that be are saying, whether that be at a model show or out in the street or wherever, if the powers that be are deciding what is more offensive than something else, that's a very slippery slope into socialism, fascism, communism, and all the things that go with it, where you're told what your values should be, and you will either slow line or find yourself in hot water as a result. That's beyond wrong. And if anyone wants to come around and take the Israeli flag down from my garden, they're more than welcome.
You're saying about YouTube, Blue, Moz. Yeah, I was watching a guy the other day who he did a First World War battle between the trenches, and he had a skeleton of a person that died in a hole.
Yep.
He was telling the story of how it was like there was a guy who was given a message to get from one side to headquarters back from the trenches,
and didn't make it.
and didn't make it. He got one.
Yeah.
He got one guy in a hole that had been there a while. He was a skeleton. The guy had got in the barbed wire. He got caught in that, so he died. And it was just to tell a story of what the First World War looked like.
So what
And
is
I
the
mean, on
difference?
YouTube.
And this is where the line is so blurred, because what's the difference in building a Warhammer 40k model that is covered in skulls, human skulls, bones, skeletons, and everything in between? What's the difference? There is no difference. If they say that it's promoting violence, or and all this sort of stuff, or showing objects that are associated with death, so is a Warhammer model.
Yeah, exactly. You if that was offended everybody at a show, there was no gaming to do.
Yeah,
literally you ban gaming, full stop. So no.
So it's Action Man.
Exactly. What we build as hobby people here, as we build as modelers, all of us, is basically a war machine, or was in the war of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and what Craig said there is absolutely right. Being offended is a feeling. Why are we policing feelings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do you stop children buying Lego in case they build a tank out of it? It's
But
just
Lego as an organisation have made the decision that they'll never release a military themed.
no, I know. It doesn't stop their kids, their fan base building military vehicles.
But what they've said as an organisation, and I get that, in order to maintain their woke and pacifistic image, they've said that you won't do it. Is that the figure?
That's the figure, yeah.
My God.
What's wrong with that?
Sorry, it's a digital
It's an elf.
thing, so
He's done a nice job on her ears.
She got ears, has she?
I'll tell you what, that is a beautifully painted bust, isn't it?
Mr.
I
Scott,
don't mean,
Mr. Scott.
I'm talking about, I'm talking about.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Oh gosh.
You can take that literally, or you can take it not literally, but that is the job he's done on that is beautiful.
But what's the difference between that and the image that Zinzan showed 20 minutes ago? There is no difference.
This one actually is made of resin, I think, isn't it? And therefore is very brittle. So you'd have to be terribly careful with the breasts in case you cracked one off.
Yeah, but Zin, that can only be half as offensive as the one you showed.
Well, indeed.
I mean,
you
you
could
go
argue.
to Birmingham
See them in museums.
Centre. It's actually known as the floozy in the jacuzzi. Because there is a sculpture of a naked female in like a water feature. It's massive. But what are you going to do? Are you not going to go there? Are you not going to? Well, I wouldn't go to Birmingham City Centre. That's good advice. But
certainly can't walk your kid past that.
Are you not going to take your children to go and see the NIA or whatever to see a show because they might cast their gaze at the floozy? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I mean, if they're good, healthy kids, all they're going to do is snigger at it a bit and walk away.
Yeah. Exactly.
They might take a few pictures on their phone.
But these will be the same people whose children are sat in front of a screen for 23 hours a day, and their parents have no clue what they're looking at.
Yeah.
You're 3 clicks away from hardcore pornography on the internet.
Basically, yeah, you are.
So, what? Looking at a bust that someone has painted is offensive to children, but look at your iPad instead. I don't know who you're talking to on Minecraft or whatever.
Yeah,
it's so hypocritical. It's beyond. comprehension almost.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, I mean, this kind of. We'll call it a bust because that's what it is.
Yeah, it is.
This is the product of one person, one man's efforts in order to make something as realistic as he can make it. You could argue, just as the Needian Aphrodite is posed in a certain way, you can wonder where the mermaid lady is looking. What is she looking at? The sculpture itself, just as in the Needian Aphrodite, invites us to consider what is going on beyond the formalized boundary of the sculpture itself. Why is she looking over there? Why is that gentleman looking to his left? What is he looking for? There is a story, as Mr. Rifle has said, there is a story being told here, and one can easily get away from the fact that the story is being told and concentrate on the bodily part of it. And quite frankly, if you're the sort of person that is going to be offended by that kind of thing, well, you can be as offended as you like. That's fine. It's not a problem. But it doesn't confer upon you any special rights whatsoever.
There'll be people out there who's offended by that.
I think everyone here, and probably 95% of people that are either watching live or are going to watch this back, would defend that person's right to be offended.
Yeah.
I would defend the right for them to take offense, but that does not mean that the rest of the world has to change to accommodate their offense. And that's
Too right, Luke. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, that's completely right.
Celtic West says, I believe that every child has seen her mother naked, has not been traumatized. Well, yeah, they wouldn't be fed.
I don't know. Mate. Have a look at my mother naked. That's grim.
Or other greasy chuff around their neck when they're born. It's got
John,
unskinned inside, and the rest of your life trying to get back in.
John Alec, you've been a bit quiet. What's your thoughts on all this then? War and tits, basically.
Yeah, I'm one of the least easily offended people on the planet. Yeah,
unless they're a communist.
Yeah. So none of this would ever remotely offend me. I don't understand. It's particularly here in the States. Due to our our First Amendment, which is absolutely fantastic. People can say, like, people can call each other some of the worst things imaginable, some of the worst things possible, and it's terrible, but you hear stuff, you see stuff all the time. I mean, that statue it's so freaking tame. I just can't even conceive how somebody would just be so offended. Somebody mentioned the word jealous, right? And so I think that it might be somebody who
flat-chested.
Yeah, or something,
2 fried eggs instead of 2 bags of water.
Yeah, there's always somebody who needs it.
Good point, Baron.
So
2 bags of water and a coconut.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
As I said, I was just going to say that it is a mermaid because it's got the scales in the hair and everything. It's got the barnacles and everything. So people say elf. It's not. It's a mermaid. And also the chap who painted it told me it was a mermaid. So that's the end of that argument. But I've these sort of busts. not seen much as in scale modeling. They're more with the bust, the people who do figure painting.
But that's because it's incredibly difficult to do it.
Oh yeah.
Female skin is one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
Convincingly.
Yeah.
It really is. And to do nipples like that is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, with a male, you can scar them up and dirty them up and, cone on, right? So it's almost like, like a tank, you know what I mean? You can just do whatever you want to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's harmless.
She's harmless.
In the realm of fantasy and stuff, that's what I'm trying to get at. You go on AliExpress and just look up women 3D printed busts.
Yeah. So would we all be of the opinion that Masterbox were a fairly mainstream manufacturer?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hang on a minute. Yeah, I'm going to get you up, Luke. Hang on, there you are.
1/24 scale Masterbox figure set.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, is that offensive? No.
It is. I just see as we were saying right from the beginning, it's all subjective. I just wish there was somebody here from St. Salisbury Model Show who may know why somebody got offended, or it may have been that nobody was offended, just that they felt that it shouldn't be put on display. I just like to know the reason behind it, just so we have a fair balance. I totally get. I'm looking at this.
What would be interesting, and I'm going to test this out tomorrow, and I'm going to play this back.
Yeah.
To my partner, it would be interesting to get a reasonable, balanced female opinion.
Yeah.
As to whether what's the reason for the offense? What is the reason? Because people have said, everyone's, well, maybe this individual hasn't, but 99.9% of people have seen a naked female, and they've seen boobs before. So what is the offense? Is it because it's offensive to women? Is it because it's offensive to people who think they're women? Is it offensive because it's nude? What's the reason? So why not? It would be interesting to get a balanced female's perspective on it, as to whether a mermaid or a model of a mermaid showing her bust is offensive.
Or a bloke who ain't getting any.
Quite likely, there's a lot of them at model shows.
So here's an interesting angle. So this mermaid was complained about and then removed from the show, correct? Based on the one complaint. That's what happened.
Apparently, Jim, yeah.
Okay. So why then does the what the show organizers, why do they take that tact in lieu of saying, come with me, I'm going to refund your money and you're welcome to leave?
Exactly that.
So to the point, why does that one person get to call the shot that they and themselves are offended? Why can't the shows go the opposite direction? Why do we cater? Why do we feel the need as humans to cater to these people that complain all the time?
Because that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
But everyone's too scared to say anything different.
Yeah.
So this was what was said in the thing there, that Masterbox had US soldiers perving at bathing girls. So this is the box art. You can clearly see naked girls there, and it actually shows you that she's got. Well, they're both topless on this picture. and there's the plastic. So very well presented, to be fair. She's got that jug right in the right position as well. So yeah, you know, so
This is
they're
nothing new. Francois Verlinden did a figure back in the 80s, 40 years ago.
yeah.
What is the big deal?
Would you
People
would
get
you go out your way and build that as a diorama or a show? Would you go out your way and do that?
Probably
So
not.
Celtic said, a bit of background. I was approached by the chairman of the Salisbury Club and treated with respect and courtesy. Fair enough. Yeah, I totally get that. He said I had to remove it because he had a complaint. He had a complaint of someone.
But one complaint, so we have to get rid of it because one person was upset.
Mm.
We're catering to the lowest common denominator.
I was just going to say path of least resistance.
Mm. Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, I would have went 180 degrees with that. Well, I'm sorry you felt offended. I will be more than happy to refund you your money, and you're more than welcome to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
Respectfully, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to be mean about it. You really don't. It's not a thing to be mean about. Hey, I'm sorry you feel that way, but this is what we do. We're not going to change it for you. Here's your money back. Sorry you didn't have a good time.
Yeah, that's respectful.
Yeah, but then again, you know, the man that if you ever meet Neil, he's such a gentle giant. He was he's an absolute legend. I love the bloke, and he said that I didn't want to put him in a bind, so I removed the bust.
Yeah,
and I think that's fair enough. You know, so I think it was done admirably, if you know what I mean. So, but I'd just like to know, you know, it's if this happened here. Has anyone else experienced this in other model shows? And listen, there's I would say no. I don't want Salisbury Model Club coming back to hate me. It's a debate to have. And in all honesty, you know, I didn't go on Saturday because I was working, sadly. But you know, I go and film these model shows and I put them out and show, you know, what's on the show there and everything. And I respect the right of every model show organizer to decide what they want to show in their shows. But until that comment or that complaint was added, I would love to know the train of thought. Oh, one person's complaint, you know, it's like, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I just like to know the mentalities are really shit.
Rationale. That's the word you're looking for.
Rationale. That's a really good word. The rationale.
There is no rationale. It's all based on feelings. That offends me, and that's the crux of it. That's all.
Jim, you're not being very nice.
Yeah.
Celtic West has put up. Sorry.
I think sometimes as a judge, Jim, I think you were very cold.
I am going to say this, that Salisbury Model Show is a fantastic model show.
It is.
And it is worth attending if you can go. Okay.
The thing is, no one's criticising Salisbury IPMS.
No, we're not.
No one is doing that because they've been put in a position, and because the way slightly different in the US, but the way the UK has gone over the last 10 to 15 years, they will default to that setting, and you cannot blame them for that. The only person that should be or was at fault in the first place is the person that has raised the issue.
Yeah.
Because that's a them issue. It's nothing to do with anyone else. No. But the organization and the show hosts have got to take some form of action. I agree with Jim. That's how I would have dealt with it. Yeah. However, you know, you can't blame them. because they haven't, they've been, as have a lot of the population, been indoctrinated into this mindset of, oh, well, if someone's offended, we need to change everything.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, I'm on the other side of the fence when it comes to that sort of thing. But no one's blaming Salisbury for taking that line. The only person I would have a conversation with is the person that complained in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Too right.
Hobby time. I've just gone. I've seen that you're having problems. I think your iPad is rebooting the stream through YouTube, and that's why you're getting ads in chat. I don't know. I promise you that I set the adverts to only pop up every 30 minutes, and I haven't ticked the box to do it in, they all come up at one time every 30 minutes and actually come up, because that's what the setting is. I've now gone in and changed it to low and automatic, so you should, but if you the other way around it is like what everybody else does, is use YouTube Premium. I know it's £12 a month, but I assure you that £12 gets shared out more to the videos that you watched and whatever we gain from any advertising revenue from 1,000 views per click, if you know what I mean. So, but the chat is paid for by the adverts on screen, because it's £50 a month for StreamYard, and so so I do apologize if you're offended by that. I am sorry. There's nothing I can do, but like I said, you get more bang for your buck if you do go on YouTube Premium at £12 a month, and that's what I do. I have Premium. I don't see any adverts whatsoever unless I use my test one, which is my disco YouTube, where I see how my video is ranking and stuff in search. Then I see adverts because I haven't got Premium on that. So, but I do apologise if you're getting too many adverts. I have tried to change it. How many were offended at the entry price, and at what cost for food and drinks? I bet they weren't removed.
Cheeseburger.
That is a bear that we're going to discuss at another time, because the price of model shows is going up, and even for those who are showing their models off, model clubs are getting, the pinch is getting hard, and I think that pricing is something else. So I do get that point though, mate. I get offended that that a price of a pint now is £6 for a Guinness. So yeah, I do swear a bit of that. 14 simple words for Celtic West that say so much more about him than the individual who complained. A decent man, that Celtic. He is proud chairman or president of our model club, and like you said, he's put that model. As he said, I think about 3 years now he's been showing that model, and this is the first time it's caused offence. But I am asking if anybody else has had their models removed for any reason, please put it in the comments. But I just think that talking Jean-Luc Picard here, the first chink in the chain will start the unraveling, and if it starts now on a piece like this, what does that say for future model shows? And
what will happen is people just won't display.
Yeah,
that's what will happen, because again, where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
And if one person out of, 500 people that attend a show, if one person complains about one model, then it has to be removed. No, like Jim said, here's your money back for your entry fee. I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it. Maybe it's not for you. Have a lovely day.
Yeah.
Way to do with it.
You wouldn't have shows if everybody complained.
No,
there'd be nobody to do, no one would be able to display anything.
What you do risk and going back to a previous discussion that we've had, reference negativity and tribalism and all that stuff. So, what's to start? If that's the way that show organisers are going, then what's to stop anyone approaching someone who's hosting a show and saying, "I find that model offensive because of X, Y, Z," even though they don't, but they've got they're vindictive towards the builder.
Yeah.
And then they'll use that to make the builder have a shit day.
So somebody's just sent me the quote now, actually, which is quite interesting. The Jean-Luc Picard. Very good, actually. It's a good quote. I'll put it as a comment and then I'll put it on here. With the first link, the chain is forged, the first speech censored, the first thought forbidden, the first freedom denied, chains us all irrevocably.
Forever.
Forever. Yeah. Very good. And I'm just saying that, and I just think the word, and also it's like, there's a big. I like theology, as a lot of people know. I read a lot of theological and philosophy books, and there's a really big thing now that we have to be tolerant, and tolerant is a dangerous word because the actual word tolerant is an aside. The word compromise. You've got to be tolerant to this. Okay? No, what you're saying is you have to compromise your belief in accepting that.
Yeah.
And it's a big theological debate it's a religious thing, obviously. That if you have to be tolerant. But to actually be tolerant is a compromise. You compromise your belief, you compromise your thoughts, your beliefs into something else. And it's all about the give.
That's so true.
It's all about the give. And as such, if you go looking online about it, there's so much on it at the moment that there's this thing about this. If you're being tolerant, that means that you're giving something for nothing back, because you're actually compromising your stance to be tolerant for somebody else's stance. They're not compromising.
So true. So true. You know my stance on certain things that I won't say on here.
Yeah.
But by me being expected to address a certain individual in a certain way when that just factually is incorrect.
Mm.
Well, why is that individual's thoughts and feelings any more valid than mine?
Mm.
No.
They're not, are they?
No.
If we live in a democracy, then and we've got free speech and freedom of thought, then I can think what I want, as long as I'm not causing that individual any physical harm.
Yeah.
But I don't have to play their game because they're not quite right.
Yeah.
I don't have to. But society expects people to play that game. Mm-hmm. And if you don't play the game, then you're some sort of phobic or fascist or whatever. And that's not the case.
But I get this. Compromise is inherently compromise is a two-way thing. Being tolerant isn't. If you have to be tolerant, to that, and you're compromising what your thoughts, beliefs, whatever is, it's a one-way street when it becomes a tolerant. If you both compromise and say, I hate it when people say, "Oh, I agree to disagree," right? But that is compromise in a sort of fashion. But tolerance, you've got to be tolerant to this. means that you're giving up, you're compromising something you've got to give up to be there. You know, there's no two, and that's it's a big theological debate at the moment. And
that person who was complaining about that bust wasn't tolerant at all.
No.
But very opposite of it. Yeah.
Tolerance in these sort of circumstances only works one way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the argument is that this person said, "Look, I'm offended at that model. I just want you to know," and then you can then say, "Well, the way around it is not look at it."
Yeah,
that's
I'm
compromise.
offended that you're offended.
You're not going to be offended. Yeah.
We'll take it
Talk to
down
the
so that the
person.
next time you walk around, you won't see it. I bet they saw it. I don't know. We're just a bit picky now, and I don't want to be like that. I just want it to be an open thing. But it's
Why didn't they talk to the modeler instead? Talk to the person who built it and said, "Well,
it's too easy, isn't it?
have a conversation with them."
They won't do that.
They won't do that.
It's silly.
These people haven't got the guts to do that.
Once they made it official, that was it. The society had to do something with it, obviously.
Yeah.
And that's part
As
of
a
the
friend.
problem. We embolden these people to complain about every little thing because we cave and give in to them instead of saying, "Here's your money back, please leave."
Yes.
Exactly.
Because once you go down that slippery slope, oh, we'll ask the builder to remove this model. Oh, well, now the one person gets say because they're offended.
Yeah.
That's wrong. That's not democracy. That's one person rule.
Jim, I bet a lot of people who went to that show stopped and looked at that bust and admired the work.
I'm sure.
And her action has stopped everyone else who came after that was removed from doing the same.
I mean, what if, hypothetically, if Neil wasn't such a reasonable, nice man?
Yeah.
What if he'd have turned around and said to whoever had said, "Can you please remove it because we've had a complaint and they're offended?"
Yeah.
What if Neil had have said, "Well, I'm offended that you're asking me to remove it"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then where do we go then? Then whoever's making that decision, their rationale, as you hinted at, Mars, they're gonna have to fall down on one side or the other. We all know which side they will fall down on because they're too, I don't want to use the word scared, they're too reticent to stand up to these individuals that are emboldened to be offended.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a good question for this kind of person is why.
Yes,
and I would observe that I have seen quite often people who profess to be offended about one thing or another can't really very easily define, in objective terms, why that is.
Yeah.
I have some standard views, and I always ask the question of people, why do you not agree with that?
I just am.
Yeah. I think all of you here know I'm somebody who has an opinion, and I gladly bow the knee. If you can argue your view, I will gladly bow the knee. And I'll take that view on board. I'm that kind of person. I've always done it. But you got to remember, it was over 50 years ago when we had the big push about women and the offence of breastfeeding in public. Do you remember all that debate we had 15 years ago?
Yeah.
It was everywhere, wasn't it? Women should have the right to breastfeed, blah, 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 blah. And it was because people were getting offended at seeing women breastfeed. And I was on the side of the women. I don't mind them breastfeeding. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't affect me. Babies have got to be fed. But there was this big debate. It may be less than 10 years ago. And now it's become, it got to that stage,
But now, look where we are now. Look at what goes on in society and where we are now. And I'm trying to be very guarded in what I say because it's not my channel. If you want to know what I really think, either come and speak to me directly if you see me at a show, or on my channel because I say what I fucking want on there. Because if it gets taken down, then it's mine, isn't it? But that was the chink in the armor that you alluded to earlier. Now look where we are now.
Mhm.
And the world has gone mad. The world has gone mad. And someone asking for that model to be removed because they're offended is just a representation of the mentality of some people within society. That's all it is.
And here Andrew makes his point. Okay, if we're a bunch of middle-aged white guys all agreeing with each other, then I would give you your money back. There's the door. Please leave. It's the same philosophy. You can have the same conversation with 9 other guys that completely disagree with us and say the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
well, Andrew, if you feel that strongly about it, if you do see me at a show, please tap me on the shoulder and we'll have a direct conversation face to face.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know what Mr. Coley actually thinks, because then we can have a discussion about it. You clearly think something different. I'd be very interested to know why Mr. Coley thinks that skin color is important here. I don't happen to think it is.
No, I don't think it's relevant. And I don't think age is relevant either. So who's the ageist and who's the racist?
but he talks about analysis. I think we've gone quite in depth in analysis from both ends of the spectrum of this question.
Yeah.
And we have his opinion, and he's free to it.
That's it. Well, my point being here is that we are talking. We're all modelers, and we have put it out there, and we can't find a reason why somebody is offended at that and the course of action. Now, if you have a reason here, Andrew, and say, well, I think that shouldn't be allowed, let us know in the chat. That's what the chat is there for.
Yeah.
Because we do put comments, and you're saying, it's like you're all agreeing with each other, but that's the thing. Everyone in the chat is also agreeing and putting their 10 pence worth in, and we're picking up these and putting them in the chat so we can discuss them. But at the moment, no one seems to come up with a reason or a good established version of events on why that person felt that a picture of a topless woman painted bust should cause offense, when you can go anywhere online. Even now you can go onto Facebook and you can see women with see-through lingerie on being advertised to buy from Shein. So you tell me. Andrew, you put on your side and we'll take it from there.
Let's have the conversation.
You just go to wildlife website and you can watch monkeys doing it. What's the problem here?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you don't want to see that. You just turn it off. Yeah.
Has anyone asked why the person objected to the model? If you listen to the whole conversation, we have said there may be reasons they had a child with them or such and such. But the problem is that the discussion was and still is what is offensive and what is actually artistic impersonation, artistic license, or however you want to call it. Is it offensive to have a pair of boobs showing at the same time as having a diorama of burnt bodies next to a burnt out tank, which is what I started the conversation on? Is that, where's the line in the sand of offense? And at the moment, no one, as scale modelers who, and a lot of us do, produce scale models of weapons of war, which really, for the pacifists, will be so offensive anyway. Why did this one particular model or models that we've seen cause them for it to be removed? So, but bringing in the white man and middle age and all this, you turn something into what it isn't. So, but please, if you don't like it, just close the door, walk away, but do close the door because it will leave a draft.
I would
it's not
imagine
like-
the gentleman dresses like a stereotypical problem.
No,
we don't know who the person was who complained, but we have put out there reasons why they might have complained.
Yeah.
But we're scare modelers, we're adults here, and we've all probably played with boobs as well. We've probably all watched films where people are being blown up, Saving Private Ryan. It maybe it's a film, you know. Saving Private Ryan in eyes is fiction, but it's not fiction. People were blown up, and you can sit there and watch it. Would you be offended at that? No. You know, would you watch a film and a woman gets out of the shower and just before she puts a towel on, she has a nip slip? Are you offended at that? That's what we're trying to get at. Is what was the offence? And we don't know why that person offended. You know, it could be religious beliefs, it could be moral beliefs,
Could be anything.
but it could be anything. So we can't really. All we can do is assume and put conjecture out there why this could be offended, and we're discussing here why we're not offended, because personally we're not. But also we have to have the debate on where's the line drawn, because if this is happening now, what's happening with other model shows? Are they going to be stopping certain things being put on? So yeah,
Maybe.
you know,
Yeah, I think and just to remind Mr. Coley that right at the start, I think there was a broad consensus that actually what we were interested in as modelers was the artistic representation, and this was in no way salacious or you know or rude or unpleasant or anything like that. It was simply an artistic critique of a human form. So you know that we don't know why anybody was offended or why this person was offended. I'd like to know, because I'd asked the question, well, why is this? But until such time as we do know, we just have to be, you know, to adopt this position, to not be controversial in any way. You know, it might get you clicks, but you know, it damages the integrity of what ethics and chill is, quite honestly. And one, you can take this in common with, you know, the video that you ran some little while ago with on you know, the forbidden symbol, as it were. You know, I think that was handled pretty carefully and pretty bloody well. This is no different, you know, and I suppose if you looked at it from a very high level, you could say, oh yeah, we all agreed on that too. Well, yeah, maybe we did. You know, maybe we're just 9 people who all agree with each other. I mean, that may be the case, may genuinely be the case on this particular pro issue.
And that's a female point of view. That seeing a pair of breasts on a model would not bother.
They're just boobs.
Yeah, well,
No. The features.
Being Dutch and all, we had mainstream movies with food in the 1970s and 80s, most in blink and eye, except for the puritanical religious folks. Yeah, we had that in this country. It's called Mary Whitehouse.
Yeah.
German TV was no different when I was out there for 5 years. Their version of Top of the Pops, they did the countdown, and all the birds with holding the numbers are all topless.
I was going to say, did you ever see that program on I can't remember whether it was on Sky, but it was years ago. It was called Tutti Frutti. It used to go on in clubs. I saw it in a snooker club of all places once, and it was on a Friday night. It was all in French or German, and consequently I couldn't understand a word of it. But it seemed to consist mainly of members of the public being called out from the audience, and then some rather nice-looking models getting their kit off. And there didn't seem to be any connecting tissue to it. It was just, you know, people looking at boobs. But this has been around for years and years and years. You know, why are we offended about it now?
Centuries, doesn't it? It's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I know.
There was a certain TV program called
I was deprived as a child.
Is that true? Is Andrew was the one that complained about the model?
I don't think so.
No, it might be just somebody having a bit of a dig.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah, we did jump. This is it. We've actually done really well. We've actually gone through all this. Well, I think we've gone through a lot of the scenarios. And you're right. In a world where people have different lines of acceptable or not, does final say not sit with the showrunners or whether something needs to be removed? And it has been brought up that one person complained and that model was removed. And we totally get that. They felt that in their position, because they had one complaint, they removed it. But also you need to bring in then that there was probably 600 people turned up for that model show and one person complained. That then changed the course of everything that happened with that particular model.
Yeah.
So, and what we're saying is that what happened if that one person complained saying that bus offends me? What about if you had, and they all turned up and then you had 8, and then say Neil wouldn't do this, by the way. I'm just stating a fact. It's just stating a sort of an idea. Hypothetical that you had then 100 people say, why is that bus removed? Because it was brilliant. It's been well painted.
Yeah.
Would the showrunners then say, oh, put it back up then? Because other people will actually appreciate the artistry that went into painting that bust or busts or whatever. That's what we're trying to, this is what we're trying. We may be all in agreement, but we're also looking at it from all object matters. So, there you are. It's just, yeah. Listen, I'm just surprised we've not had a Stop Oil demonstration outside a model show because plastic is made from oil. So take that for what you will.
Don't encourage them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. Yeah.
Don't give them ideas.
They'll throw tomatoes.
They'll be marching outside Howden Place next.
Yeah.
And Annette has another good a comment. She's saying if breasts in art are so unacceptable, we'll end up with so many empty art galleries. Well, that's true.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Well, Listen, all I know is if they ban porn on the internet, there would be no internet. There would be one site saying "bring back porn." You know what I mean? It's everything's. This is what happens. You can talk now that you've got 200 people that's been elected in this country who want to bring in national IDs in this country.
Yeah,
and you've got 160 MPs who are against it. Unfortunately, the 200 will win out against the 160 and will have national identity cards by the end of 2028, whatever it is. That will happen. Digital ID. So, it's. I think, as I said, it's like everything. It's the irony of it all. Like this week, right? It's something ironic, which I thought was. So we've got the Scale Model Club. I run that group. It's got 55,000 members, and there was a lot of people reporting posts where AI was being used in the scale models. So I put up a poll and I said, "Hi everyone, should we ban IA generated or IA used?
AI,
any AI in photographs or pictures on this?" And predominantly 95% of people said ban it outright, because the problem is policing it. We could say, oh yeah, you can use AI, but you've got to credit that you've used AI. You can't police that. No one can. I've got 10 moderators. No one can you police that. So in the end, I did an outright ban. And what I did was I put a big thing up saying why we banned it, and I put a picture up of an IA generated sign saying AI banned, or something like that. AI, no AI here on this thing. That was the irony of it. And people took umbrage that I used an AI picture. That was the joke. That was the irony of it.
But doesn't that come down to people's understanding of what AI is?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How many people post pictures of their models on social media platforms that have been through Photoshop.
Yeah.
So,
That's AI.
yeah.
Mm.
It's
So that's what
interesting.
How many people take a picture on their iPhone and then crop the image or
Mhm.
lighten the image
Filters.
Yeah.
or put a filter on it or whatever it may be? That's AI.
Hmm.
I think we were more interested in more of the generic stuff, as when they've got their model and they've put it in to put a big background in and everything, and they've touched up the mod. You know, that's it's as I said, it's an outright ban. People will probably still post AI generated stuff, and people will still. But the consensus was that people they just want to see the model, not all the after effects of it and
Yeah.
everything. So I just did that by, you know, as I said, it's but people got offended. People had a go at me, you know, and the admin, but we decided to go down that route. And 90% of the people have voted yes, that we don't want to see it. So, but yeah.
I think the Pope agreed with him, Moss. Did you hear what he said last week?
No, I didn't. I don't really listen
He
to what
said
he says.
he believes AI should be banned because he thinks it's the end of the world within 25 years.
Probably will be.
I think he's seen too many Terminator films, hasn't he?
Yeah, now I bet he's dinner parties, isn't he?
I remember years ago. I remember years ago as a kid watching the lecture series at Christmas,
Yeah.
and they had a bloke on there, a professor of robotics,
Mhm.
and he said the only way we will ever survive AI and being a robot is we become cyborgs ourselves. That's the only way we're going to survive.
That's interesting.
Yeah, watch it. It's a really good lecture. I think the scariest thing was when they had the remote control cars,
Mhm.
and they had 8 of them or 10 of them in a circle, and they were all moving around, and they had 2 lines of code. One was find a path, a straight path.
Yeah.
And the second line of code, if you bump into another robot or a wall, you turn left.
Mhm.
And 6 of them carried on living, doing this. And 4 of them, I believe, committed suicide and just died. They couldn't get the machine to work again. Yeah,
Lord.
you watch it. Interesting, very interesting. It's all on the internet as well. I think it's completely fine for someone to feel offended by a model. Everyone has their own boundaries, but removing it from display feels like the wrong call. Yeah, I feel it's a wrong call, but I also have sympathy for the person who had to make that call. You know, and as I said, we've talked about it, and yeah, it's this will be interesting to see what the comments are going to be like in after the show's aired, to see what the comments are underneath what people, and yeah. I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, and I'll just say now that Celtic West is actually big enough that if he asked you, you'd probably give them to him.
Yeah.
He's a proper legend. But as I said, you know, but did they get offended not liking something that's different to the offence? Yeah, they did remove those statues because of complaints. But I think the tide, what I'm seeing, and I'm quite liberal. I think you know, do unto others what you have done unto yourself, but obviously do it first. I'm that kind of person. You know, if people, I think that there's all sorts of statues being taken down and everything else, but I think the tide is now turning where there is resistance to all this now, and then now there's that resistance. There was a lot of walkover. That's what I always think. You know, there's a lot of walkover. Now there's more resistance. But you notice now that when governments are making decisions, for instance, is prime example, when smoking came into force around Europe, in England, we kind of said, yeah, no smoking in pubs, fair enough. We just won't go to the pub. The Spaniards sod that, we're going to carry on smoking in pubs. They have that resistance.
Yeah.
And I think now you're seeing that more and more in society now. I think there's more resistance of, you know, as I said, tolerance and compromise. And I think that's what's happening now more and more. I think people are waking up to there's got to be more compromise, just tolerant.
To play like devil's advocate here, if you were put the boot on the other foot basically and said, well, that person who complained about the bust, what if it was their model and somebody complained about them? How would their reaction have been?
Well,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be that subject, but it could be something else that somebody could get offence on.
Exactly. I mean, that person had done all that hard work and then
that's
somebody
what I
complained
think.
about it.
You know, and I think it's in the model show so that people can see and appreciate the work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But the question still remains: why one person complained, which meant nobody else could appreciate it?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what
That
I just made a point.
But I'm just saying, but that isn't our question to answer. That has to go back to the person. Actually, that question needs to go back to the person who complained about it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Why?
Why? Tell us. Explain to us why.
Yeah.
You know, if that person's watching this show, maybe they are. I don't know. Write to me. Tell me why.
Yeah.
Explain to me why, and I'll give you a fair hearing. I'll look at it. I'll quite happily, you know, listen to what you have to say. Why a model that shows a pair of female human breasts is offensive to you?
Didn't that just call them devil's dumplings?
That was, yeah. And you know what, right? And the thing is, though, it's even funny because that woman has got the soundest mind in all of us. She's absolutely sound, isn't she? Absolutely.
I think that expression's from the film Carrie.
The origination of that devil's dumplings is from Blackadder, in fact.
Was it?
But the film Carrie was before Blackadder.
It's Blackadder the second. It comes
Yeah.
from when his parents were the two most fanatical Puritans, and he came in wearing a pair of large golden breasts.
Yeah,
and,
I remember now. Carrie was dirty pillows, but you're right, Stinzan.
The woman said, "Why are you wearing a pair of devil's dumplings?" Amid much amusement across everybody in the whole country. Oh, he put them on his head. Oh, they were my earphones. You know, my. It was cold outside.
Compromise and tolerance are way harder to do if it involves my personal health, which is the case in smoking. There is an important difference. Yeah, of course, there's an important difference. But I was using it as an example of how countries or attitudes in different countries. Look, in this country, if I stand at a pedestrian crossing or zebra crossing, the bloody car stops. In Spain, unless you're at least 3 foot on that pedestrian crossing, they won't stop. You know what I mean? Because that's the attitudes. That is the attitudes. And so be it. Us English are very respectable people, too respectable sometimes. So, but yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, smoking. You know, most of us vape now anyway. As I said, you know, it's smoking is a dying art, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's you don't see it so much now. You know, so yeah. That model had been removed if it was in the competition area. No, it was just on a stand. It was on a model display. It wasn't in the competition. No,
it's not selling.
No,
it's just
so we haven't got that. I just want to say I think we've tried to cover as many. If we've missed any angles or ideas, and if you think it's offensive, just put it in the comments. Let's have the debate. Let's carry on the debate below, and we may come back on this in a few. Yeah, that's true. Portugal and Spain. Yeah, I get that. When I went to Spain, it's frightening. Even when I went to Poland and I went on the compression gun, I only got run over. Yeah, I get that. But yeah, if at the end of the day, you know, I think we've covered most of the bases here of about offence and everything else. And I think it's been a really good debate to have. And here you go. Yeah, a counterpoint. Why don't we lay the blame at the feet of the person who actually removed it for caving to one complaint? Could you say they're equally responsible for stopping people from seeing it? Do you know what? Right, I think in a world where it's easier to just accept than cause conflict. In respect of Neil, when you go to a model show, you are invited to that model show, even though you pay to show off your wares. You are invited as a club, and it's like everything. You're invited to use Facebook, but it's their sandpit, and you play by their rules.
Yeah.
Now, Neil was in that sandpit, and not to cause conflict. Also, the measure of the man, broad shoulders, said, "I accept your decision." I don't know whether Neil said why. Oh, we've had a complaint. Yeah, but what was the complaint? We don't know why. Neil was just asked, "Can you not have it on show?" And that's what he did. He took it down out of respect for that sandbox. It's the same with everything. You can't go to Nuremberg and not follow the rules of driving your car around like a dick. There are rules there for you to play with. Insurance. You can't drive a car in this land without insurance. You're invited to drive a car when you pass your test. Then you've got to follow the rules of the highway. And if you don't follow those rules, the policeman, you're going over 80. Yeah, why? Am I offending anyone doing 80? No, but the rule is, you know, I'm just saying, they're just looking at it from that side of it as well. So, but see the offensive mermaid at North Devon show. Yeah, go
right now, man.
We'll be there, Barry. You gonna complain what?
Gotta come see it myself.
You're gonna
I'll probably take lots of photographs and fondle it to see if it's real.
Yeah.
I'd come down and feed it.
Yeah.
I'll see if it smells a bit fishy.
Yeah.
Hey, tell you what, though, Barry. Tell you what, Barry. Wasn't there a lot of offence by that statue up at, is it Westwood Ho or wherever it is? Is it in Bideford or somewhere?
Well, the pregnant thingamabob.
Yeah, where's that?
Yeah, Ilfracombe. That's Ilfracombe. Yeah.
When there was a lot of people who was upset by that statue, weren't they? Who's it by again? The guy who did the is it called Verity, isn't it, or something?
Oh God knows. The pregnant bint at Ilfracombe.
Yeah, Verity, I think she's called.
Verity.
Yeah, who's it done by?
Then there's the theatre, commonly known as Madonna's Bra. That's Ilfracombe.
Yeah.
She sounds like an Ilfracombe whore.
Oh. Yeah, that's for show, isn't it, up there? And she's got her boobs out as well, one side, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
I don't know who made it. There you go. Put it up on stage. Damien Hirst, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Ilfracombe.
Yeah, you can see it as you're coming into the coast, like, you know, Verity. Yeah. It is, mate. It's a privilege to drive a vehicle, and that privilege can be removed. So, any chance of bringing back the upcoming one? Yeah, I only do it once a month now, mate. I do it once a month. When I get an update, I update it, then I play it once a month. Because it just takes too long, else it's like 3 minutes, and it's just like dead air. And when I do it, I end up losing viewers. Viewers seem to think it's the end of the show. Maybe I could put the end of the show or something. I don't know. But the police are not the showrunners. That's my point. If the police ask you to remove it because it's outside the rules, are we upset at the person reporting the crime? Yeah, I see that point. But as I said, but was there a crime to be shown by having a bust at the model show? It's a model. It's being painted. It's not a real life thing. It's a representation of a model. That's the problem. Was there a crime committed going off that model? In theory, yes, you can say that because the showrunners heard that complaint and said, "Can you remove it?" But yeah, you know, like I said, that's why we got the debate for. Well done there. But yeah. Anyways,
Do the
it's that
rules
time.
specifically say and address that type of model? Until we find out that, then
Yeah,
it's all up in the air.
yeah, exactly. Martin Bell, that's a totally different debate, and we're having it down here in Exmouth at the moment. Yeah, you're totally right. It's a debate for that kind of. It's the same as this debate we're having at DJs at the moment with certain people. Should we play their music because they've been done, like R. Kelly and Gary Glitter and all that? Can you separate the artist from the art? That debate is raging at the moment. Personally, I don't play R. Kelly anymore. I'm just glad that Michael Jackson was never found guilty because that's a whole different ball game for me. Because I play a lot of people like a lot of Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's totally the same. Again, that's it. It's a totally. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about the ramifications and the reasons, and accept that people's opinions do kind of matter. But then everybody has an opinion, just like an arsehole. So I get that. Anyway, folks, it's that. Yeah, it'll all come out in the wash, definitely. Thanks again, Luke, Jim, John, Alex, Simon, Brett, Barry, Zinzan, and John for Joffrey for joining me tonight, and Mike in the background as well, doing the moderating for me on there. Again, if you have any questions, comments, leave them in the box below in the comments box. And we're not here to offend anyone. If you have been offended by what we've been saying, fair enough. You have that right. But I won't be taking the video down. Anyway, I need to start the outro actually, because I can get the intro right. Let's get the outro right, shall we? And I know, terrible, really. Anyway, folks, we'll see you next Monday for another Epics and Chill. Have a great rest of your week. Take care. Bye. Bye.